Student route is basically coming to study in Canada. The PR route is basically coming to reside in Canada. Everything about the study route is getting a lot stricter. For those that don't know, the difference between a permanent resident and a citizen in Canada is that a permanent resident cannot vote. Dual intent is not a problem, meaning you can apply as a student and apply as a permanent resident at the same time. Generally, as a student, you get your study permit faster than a permanent resident, just because through the permanent resident route there are a lot of stages to it. If you are 30 and younger, permanent resident route will be good for you. Getting a job, right? There's no guarantee whether or not you come in as a PR or a student. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Yemisi. I'm a Nigerian living in Canada and I make videos from Regina, Saskatchewan, which is where I currently live at the moment. On this channel, I create lifestyle videos, I create immigration videos, how to settle into Canada, how to migrate into Canada, whether as a student or a permanent resident or different routes. If these are kind of the contents you love to watch, please stay tuned to the channel and subscribe. So last week, I asked you guys to drop some video suggestions in the comment section, and someone asked for a particular video and I thought that was actually very interesting considering the time of the year that we are in. I'm sure that if you've not gotten your admission, then you should be looking to apply towards September semester, which is fall semester. This video is going to be a little bit more like we're going to go into like granular details in some of the information that I'll be sharing, although the person asked for pros and cons, but I'm not going to choose which one is best. I am going to be giving you information about the study route and also the permanent resident route. At the end of the day, you will be able to choose for yourself which one is best. In my own opinion, both routes are good. I came in as a student, I have friends that came in as a permanent resident, but the difference is the fact that as a student, there's some things that a permanent resident would do that you can't do, and there's some leverages you also get as a permanent resident as well. There are some benefits you get that a student cannot get, so it's just like that, okay? But in this video, I'll give you all those information, then you'll be able to choose which one's best for you. Everything also boils down to different situation that you are in, so let us quickly go into this video so that you are going to understand what I mean. Quick disclaimer, I am not an immigration consultant. I create videos based on my research and based on some of the important information that I see on the Canadian website, and I bring it to you for your information. As usual, I leave the timestamps in the description box so it helps you to move over to the information that is more beneficial to you. So before we go into this video, I wanted to just share briefly the latest immigration changes. There was an immigration policy change towards late last year and I made a video on that, so I'll leave that up here. Just click on this link, it will take you directly to that video. Those are some of the updates that the study route has. Currently there are new updates as well, and I feel like it's important to share this because it's going to form part of the option you'll be going for, like what route you'll be going for, whether study or PR. There were some new measures that were introduced by the Canadian immigration minister, and this was so that they could limit the immigration of students into the country. And for those that do not know, there has been issues surrounding housing, cost of living and all of that, and some of the citizens feel like the reason why there is that hike in prices is because of the students that are in the country, right? So there are more demands for houses and everything. This new measure that was introduced is more about the study route itself, whether or not you'll be able to get postgraduate work permit after study and whether or not you can even bring your spouse. But let me read it here. Effective September 1st, 2024, there are no more spousal open work permits for spouses of international students who are not studying in graduate schools or in a professional program such as medicine or law. So if you are coming into Canada effective September 1st, 2024, and you are coming in for an undergrad program, because I've seen a lot of people come in here, bachelors of nursing and all of that. So if you're coming in for an undergrad program, then you are no longer allowed to bring a spouse if you are married. So you don't have that option of bringing your spouse in through the spousal open work permit route. Also, Canada will be implementing a 2-year cap on international study permits, and this will reduce the number of study permits by 35% from 2023's level to 364,000. I think 2023 level was about 450,000 ish. I can't remember correctly, but anyway, just 364,000 is the new cap that would have for 2 years. That's so low in my opinion. That's another cap that the Canada Immigration Minister introduced. Another one is each province will be assigned a fixed number of study permits that's proportional to its population, and would have to decide on how to, divide them up with the schools authorized to take international students. So this one is actually quite tricky because it means that any school in a province that has lower population will not be able to bring in much more people, which I have my reservation on this one because it means that the bigger provinces will keep growing and then the lesser provinces. Also, you will need an attestation letter to apply for study permits. So what that means is, just as Quebec is currently operating, where you're applying for your visa, there is a letter that you need to get from the government of Quebec or from the province of Quebec. You have to attach that to your visa application before you can get your permit approved. So that's kind of like what other provinces will start to do. The only people that will not be mandated to apply for an attestation letter will be if you are a minor child in a primary or secondary school, if you're a student in a master's, PhD or other postgraduate program, or if you're a student applying to just extend your study permits. This one also is focused on people that are coming for their bachelor's degree. So that's another measure that was introduced. Every province now would have a fixed number of students that they can accommodate, and this is going to be proportional to the population in that province. I feel somehow about this one. Actually, about all of them, but a lot more about this one. There are no more postgraduate work permits for students who graduate from private career colleges operating under public college private partnership. I know someone reached out to me recently to ask me what this is about. So if you are currently in a public university, you don't have a problem with this one. We have a lot of private colleges. If you want to know a couple of those, I have a video on some of the colleges that you can apply to in Canada, so I'll leave that link here as well, so just go straight to that. I listed them according to public colleges and also private colleges, so that should be helpful. I thought that was an important information that you should keep in mind. Everything about the study route is getting a lot stricter, but that does not mean that you should not apply, okay? You're going to be able to choose the best route when I eventually give all the information on the study and the PR route. Student route is basically coming to study in Canada. The PR route is basically coming to reside in Canada. So you're applying to be a resident. For those that don't know, the difference between a permanent resident and a citizen in Canada is that a permanent resident cannot vote. Otherwise, every other thing is the same. Both have their pros and their cons. Dual intent is not a problem, meaning you can apply as a student and apply as a permanent resident at the same time. So you can be in the express entry route and also apply for your study visa. It's called dual intent and it's not a problem at all. Student visa allows you to study in Canada for a specified period with a study permit, while the permanent resident route offers the opportunity for permanent residents to immigrate into the country and have access to various social benefits in Canada. Cost implications, which was another question that some people have asked. For the study route, it's going to be an ongoing cost. Like, the cost does not really stop. So yes, when you're applying, you would have paid $150 for a study permit and paid $80 for biometrics if it's your first time applying for study visa. After coming into the country, you also have to pay your tuition fees every semester. You have to pay your housing cost, your cost of living, all of that. But for PR, aside the POF that you would have shown in your account, of course, you have to also pay some fees like the visa application. I also know that you have to pay right of permanent residence fee, which is $515. But aside that, when you come in, it's just the normal living expenses cost, so you don't have a tuition that you're paying. That's one of the many differences. For the PR route, there's a fixed amount to have in the bank account. If you go to the CIC website, you'll see the proof of funds that you have to put in, whether as a single applicant, as a couple, or couple with children, couple with a child. There are different amounts on the website. For a student, that's a bit different in the sense that there is no fixed amount. Everything depends on the program you're coming for. Is it a graduate program or a bachelor's? Is it a high cost program or is it a low cost program? Like, that determines the amount that you have in your account. You also have to put in some money in your bank account to show as your proof of funds. Don't forget that there are latest updates on the POF, that's proof of funds, that you have to put in your account. The next one is Canadian opportunities. Opportunities are available for permanent residents. There are grants, there are loans for study. So if you want to go back to school, there are loans that can be granted to you. There are also grants that you get. Also, you get newcomer services for a period of time, free education for your children, children. Like I mentioned earlier, the only difference in the benefits between PR and citizen is that you cannot vote. You also have access to universal health care and social services and monthly child benefit for your children 18 and under. So I'm not sure if it's 18 and under or 16 and under, but one of the two. For a student, some of the Canadian opportunities you get is a Canadian education, which is a big deal in the country. You get opportunities to get a job and help to increase your CRS in the polls. What that means about increasing your CRS is comprehensive ranking scores. When you're applying for your permanent resident, there are some points that you get for education, age, employment status, all of those things. When you study here, you get points for that. When you start working and it's up to a year, you get points for that. If you have a master's program or a bachelor's program, you get some points for that. So it helps you to build and increase your CRS in the express entry pool. Also, school provides maximum support for students and offer educational advice, healthcare advice. Of course, you have paid for it, so it's not free. Another aspect that I'm going to touch on will be becoming a permanent resident. Another reason why people come through this student route is, number one, if you have only your bachelor's degree, your score is not as high as someone that has a master's degree or a PhD degree from your home country. It's always advisable, if you want to stay back here as a permanent resident, come into the country, go through study and increase your score, and that will be your best option. And currently you don't even have a choice because the scores right now, they are not scoring. Back in the days, the express entry draw used to be around 450, 460, 470. Right now, 543 was the last one in the post. Before you can have that score, just come into the country and increase your score, basically. If you want to become a PR directly from your home country, it's usually easier when you're 30 and under, have a master's program, have a relative in the country. That helps to increase your score a little bit more, and also have a good English test score. So you either write the IELTS or you sit for the CELPIP test. Also, that will make you more competitive because don't forget, your age could help increase your score. So if you're under 30, that's 18 to 29, you get 110 points. As your age goes up, your score reduces. Yeah, I'll leave the link in the description box that gives you the points that you get for each criteria. So for age, for education, for employment status, like that. If you have a spouse, what is the score you're going to get? I'll leave the link in the description. Getting a job, right? There's no guarantee whether or not you come in as a PR or a student. But personally, and I say this very, very lightly, you find that some of these employers will be looking out for people that have Canadian experience, whether in terms of education or in terms of work experience. So when you come in as a student, some of the programs that you go for would have given you the opportunity of a co-op or an internship, or even personally, when you are on your summer period, you could apply for summer student jobs. Yeah, because during summer you can work for 40 hours, right? And that's not in all cases. Let me just point that out there. It's not in all cases. There are some schools that only allows you 40 hours just during July and August, and in May and June you still work the usual 20 hours. Check in with the international office in your university or in your school. In a way, like I said, there is no guarantee that if you come in as a student you get a job first, or if you come in as a permanent resident that you get a job immediately because of the experience you have back home. There is no guarantee. But in a way, if you come in as a student, I believe that you kind of have some leverage. This is not in all cases, just based off of what I see. And when you come in as a permanent resident, you still have to like take some certification programs here in the country just so that you can have some Canadian certificates, right? Because like I said earlier, Canada is very big on Canadian certificates. Another one will be spousal sponsorship. So if you come in as a student, you can sponsor your spouse and your children, and they will enjoy all the benefits that comes to spousal open work permit. Meaning, if you come in as a student, you can apply for your spouse to come into Canada through the spousal open work permit route. When your spouse comes in, the person can work unlimited hours compared to you as a student that has restriction in the number of hours that you can work. So for a permanent resident, I'm going to talk about two cases here. If you apply as a permanent resident as a single person and you came into the country and want to bring in your family members, you have to apply for them as well, and they enjoy all the benefits of being a permanent resident. There is another route, which is if you already got married, you can put your family members, your spouse, your children on your application already from the start, and you guys all get the permanent resident at the same time. So That is it. Another one is location. This one is very straightforward. If you're coming in as a student, where your school is where you can reside, right? Because you cannot apply to come to study in Canada if you chose the online route. So there's no point coming to the country because it's online, and you don't even get a postgraduate work permit for that. If you're applying for a course-based in-person kind of program, then you can only live in the province that you have applied. If you're coming in as a permanent resident, depending on the route that you came in, you have the right to the location that you go to. If you applied as a federal skilled worker program, just as the name sounds, federal, you can live anywhere in the country. If you come in through the provincial nomination route called the PNP route, then you have to go to the province that nominated you. So that's the difference. How long it takes to move to Canada, this one is very interesting. If you come in as a student, you can get a study permit within a month or more. Some people even get it within 2 weeks these days. Like, there's no fixed rate, right? But generally, as a student, you get your study permit faster than a permanent resident, just because through the permanent resident route, there are a lot of stages to it. It could take you about a month or, up to a year. The PR route, though, it could take about a year or more. Like, I know people that have been in the process for like 3 years, 4 years. But Canada is trying to fast track the process so that it doesn't take that long. But when you eventually become a permanent resident and you move into the country, you start enjoying the permanent resident benefits. And for the students, when you come into the country, then you start taking steps into becoming a permanent resident after study. Some people can even become permanent resident before they study. In as much as you have the money in your account as a proof of fund, and you already have 1 to 3 years work experience or even more, if you are below the age of 30, then you should be able to get something. Although at the time that I'm filming, the score is very high, right? Just try to calculate it using the CRS ranking system. I'll leave the link in the description box, and then that link kind of just gives you a couple of questions. It's like a questionnaire that you have to fill in order for you to get your score. The next one will be working hours. So I already talked about getting a job, like the job opportunities for both students and a permanent resident, but this one is talking about the work hours, work restriction. For permanent residents, there is no work hours restriction. You can get a good job straight away, all things being equal, if you're very lucky. And I don't want to say if you're lucky, because people get jobs, okay? And I'm also a firm believer of your own path is different. Like, don't look at anyone's race. Your case is different. So some people can come into the country and they don't get a job like 3 months, 6 months. Some people get a job on arrival. So don't use anybody's time. As for students, you have restricted hours of work, especially when the semester is still going on. You have work hours restriction, except for those people that find the job within the school. Then you're very good, because you can work on limited number of hours if you get a job within the school. That's why as a student, go for TA jobs, that's teaching assistant jobs, research assistant jobs. There are so many jobs on campus. Basically, go to the school careers website, and I have a video on that as well, so I'll just leave the link up here, how to get a job, how to apply for jobs and all of that. So just watch that video and to help you. Another one I want to talk about is Canadian citizenship. If you come in as a permanent resident, you should get your Canadian citizenship within 3 years. When you land as a permanent resident, the day starts counting. About 3 years after, you can become a citizen. You write like a test, and then you apply for citizenship. You pay a fee for sure. I can't remember the amount, but you pay a fee. When you come in as a student, if you become a permanent resident during course of your program, then those days start counting towards your citizenship. But if not, when you're done with the study, then you can start applying for postgraduate work permit, staying back in the country, writing an English test, get your result, be in the pool, just go through the usual express entry program. You can choose the provincial nomination route, you can choose the federal skilled worker route. Also, I have a video for those people that might be coming to study a 1-year program, what to do in order for you to become a permanent resident within the 1-year postgraduate work permit that you have. I'll also leave that link here. I think that video is very helpful. A lot of people have watched the video. The next one I want to talk about is business, owning a business in Canada. As a student, you cannot own a business. You cannot have a legal business in Canada, but as a permanent resident, for sure you can, because you have your tax identification number, your PR card, all of those things that you just need in order to be able to open a business in the country. Networking will be my next one. Depending on your personality, because of how Canada is, everyone is friendly, but if you have an apartment, no one really cares about what's going on in the next apartment. Depending on your personality, you can network with people easily, but I would say that as a student, you can network even more. Number one, for different things like networking with your colleagues in school, networking with your lecturers, having good relationship with people, having good relationship where you work as a student. Like, it's just easier for you to meet with people in a student environment, in a school environment, than when you come in as a permanent resident. Especially for those people that don't have relatives, it might look like you're starting from the scratch. You might not be able to have a connection with people. See, having friends in Canada is not easy. You can know people but not know people, if that makes sense. Let me just give you one of my culture shocks when I got to this country. I was working in a particular place and none of us had each other's phone number. The only person's phone number I had in the first week was my supervisor's number, and he had to give it to me because sometimes you want to call in for something. Maybe you're calling in sick, or you're trying to ask if you can get some hours, like some shifts. That one is normal, but like your normal calling, you guys will laugh, gist during work hours, and that's it. Like, that's where it ends. So I personally feel like it's easier for students to settle in, even if you are the type that don't really like to talk. In your classes, you work in a group, you work individually, you would present as a group. So all of those things helps with the interactions. Let me even touch on this. Information. You might miss out on a lot of information. Information is key. You can be within the country and miss out on a lot of information if you don't have friends that can help you. See, information has helped me in a lot of ways. It was through information that I got my summer job when I was a student. It was through information that I applied for some jobs. It was through information that I got some stuff. Information is very key, and if you come in as a permanent resident, if you're not intentional, you might not be able to be privy to those information. That's not to say don't come in as a permanent resident. Please, like I said, if you're 30 and younger, permanent resident route will be good for you. Though, like I said, at the moment the score is very high, but there are ways to that, right? You can start learning French. French is also an acceptable test that helps you to increase your score. Apply for provincial nomination programs and get 600 points. So there are different ways to also come in as a permanent resident, regardless if you don't have a master's program or whatnot. That's basically everything that I would say. If I missed out on anything and you have an understanding of the two routes, please let us know in the comment section. A lot of people will be learning for sure. Also, I hope that with this video you are able to know which one suits you best or what option you should go for, because trust me, I'm not going to be the one to tell you which one, but I mean, I just wanted to put out that information to let you know some of the perks of the study and the PR route. You know, it just helps you know what option you should go for, basically. All right, thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye guys.